So you guys are back up in Brisbane, did you say? Or back up in Brisbane, or you've moved to Brisbane?
We've moved to Brisbane, yep. So that was a decision. We always wanted to end up in Queensland, but it was definitely not something that we considered doing during our professional career. But after Tokyo and just the way things panned out, I just thought it would be a really good opportunity to start a family. And Ryan and I always said that we needed to be close to at least one set of parents when we decided to start a family. And with Ryan and I still wanting to do a lot of running and, eventually marathon training, we thought we'll, move to Queensland, have all my family there to help with a child and keep the running dream alive.
It's such a good move. So we're up in Cairns right now. Sorry about that, by the way. I had to reschedule the other day because I won't go into it now because we've only got a limited time, but bloody missed our flight. We're up in Cairns at the moment with Jesse's mum, and it's such a good move. It's a game changer having just the family around to be able to just give you a little chop out from time to time. It's been so nice for us. Like she's taking him down to the beach right now, and me and Jesse are like, oh my gosh, like this is, I forgot what free. Yeah, it's good. How's the move been for you?
Yeah, it's been really smooth, and exactly that. I think we forgot what it's like to be so close to family. I mean, Ryan's been traveling even longer than I have, but we both left home at a really young age. And even though we've always come home to see family, during the holiday season or during off season, it's crazy to, remember how helpful it is to have just someone around the corner. Like right now, I mean, I have 3 brothers, but right now I have my oldest brother around the corner. And I feel like I call on him every single day to do something handy around the house. And, it's just little things like that you forget is so helpful when you have family close by. So we've definitely taken advantage of being in Brisbane and having my whole family tree scattered around the place, because we probably have someone over here every day doing something or helping out somehow. And I think with a baby on the way, that's going to become very valuable.
It's such a good move. Were you a Brisbane girl growing up?
Yes, I was born on the Gold Coast and went to school in Brisbane. But like I said, I moved when I was 18. So I don't really know like Brisbane that well. I grew up more like Logan, Gold Coast Logan. So Ryan actually knows the city much better than me, but I'm the true Queenslander. He's still coming to terms that our baby boy is going to be a Queenslander. He's very upset about that. But it'll make State of Origin a little more interesting.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, no one cares about AFL up this way, do they? It's interesting.
No.
I was nervous I wasn't going to be able to watch Carlton Sydney last night. Actually, Greg said Ryan would be a sad man today, wouldn't he? He's a Sydney boy, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I'm a sad woman because I had a bet on, just because he loves the Swans so much. And, I try to keep him company and watch the game. But yeah, I didn't grow up with AFL. So I put a, same game, or what is it, a 3-leg multi on it. And yeah, that it didn't get up. We had a very sad night last night.
Man.
He's an avid, he loves the NRL now too, but Swans are definitely his team.
Oh, that's so funny. See, I was so nervous in that last half. I'm a Carlton boy. I shouldn't admit that on this podcast to you, especially if we want to get on well for the rest of the conversation based on the fact you just lost money. But that last half I was getting a little bit nervous. But anyway, I'm not going to try and celebrate with you because you don't care about how happy I am this morning. You're just upset you lost your cash. I forgot that about you. So are you like what's the fitness routine like at the moment? Obviously, when you're 37 and a half weeks pregnant, running gets a bit difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. No, so it's been surprisingly more active pregnancy than I thought. More for the case that I had 2 Achilles surgeries in the lead up. So I obviously had that first rupture, that was way back in August 4th. And then I had the surgery August 12th. And I got that going pretty quickly, really. Like it was slow in the sense that you had to learn everything from the start again. But by December, I was running again, and January 27th was my second surgery. And I actually, the morning of that surgery, was 22 weeks pregnant, but I ran an hour that morning. So I actually got that right ruptured Achilles back to, a strength that I felt, I could have really progressed with my running. But the plan was always to get my left Achilles sorted out, because it, at the end of the day is the main problem, and it's what caused me to compensate and rupture my right Achilles at the Olympics. So I'm now have completely lost track, maybe 16, 17 weeks post that surgery. And yeah, that one's going really well. It's a bit more, a lot of Australian athletes have actually had this surgery. I think Jai Edwards and Jeff Risley had something similar, because I reached out to them. And it's a bit more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It can flare up very easily. So we kind of decided, since I was already getting pretty big through pregnancy, to not take any risks and really try push the running. So instead, I just have kept all my strength up, done all the stuff in the gym, kept all my cross training going, but just, every second day or so, if I feel like going for a jog or a walk jog, I will. But I'd say about a week ago, that started to feel very uncomfortable, more just with my belly putting so much weight on my pelvis. So now I kind of just do more like a walk or a power walk. But really my weeks look like every second day I'm doing an hour and a half on the elliptical. 2 to 3 times a week I'm in the pool, whether it's pool running sessions or, just a long swim. And yeah, if I can get a walk/jog in, I'll try. So I still do quite a lot in the week, but as I said, I think that's going to slow down starting next week, because I really don't feel like I can keep that up for the next few weeks.
Man, so Jessie right now, for those of you who are new to the podcast, Jessie's my wife. She's right now about 20 weeks pregnant, and the second kid, I'm not sure what's happened, but she's just popped. Like I reckon her tummy's bigger now than what she was at like 35 weeks with Charlie. Yeah. It's blown our mind, but she's really keen to, or she was keen to keep up some kind of fitness routine like you're talking about. But it seems the only thing she can do is get down to the beach or get down to the pool and have a swim, because she's been rocking like this nasty pelvis pain, and she's usually pretty good with her Pilates. And Alice Bakey's got some awesome classes that Jessie's been trying to rock through just to strengthen her up and keep her strong. But it just seems like a different ride for different girls, huh? Like it's unreal that you've been able to manage that, and obviously something that with all your training, it's probably equipped you pretty well for, do you think?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I've been working really closely with Alice, just because when I first got injured, there wasn't much I could do. So I started Pilates for that reason. But like you said, being pregnant, there is still a lot of unknown, and you don't really know what you can and can't do, in the sense that everybody is different. The second baby is different to the first baby, and you really are limited when it comes to trying to return to your normal exercise routine. So Alice, helpful being a physio, and actually her sister's a women's health physio, which has been really helpful. She's really modified and adapted the Pilates sessions I do with her so that they are pregnancy friendly, because you just find that, once you pop, you're kind of limited to anything you can do, like on your back or even on your front in a prone sort of position. So I've really enjoyed that. I said to Alice the other day, doing Pilates makes you feel like you can actually still get strength in when you're feeling a bit hopeless and like an Oompa Loompa. So credit to her having her program out there.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I learned the hard way when Jessie was pregnant with the first one, not to complain about how uncomfortable you are some nights in bed. She go, babe, are you kidding? Well, look at me. I'm an Oompa Loompa. Like you're in good shape. You can't complain. Yeah. But man, she's tough. I did a couple of classes with Alice. I logged in. There was about 20 girls in the class. And I was like, all right, I'll show these girls how it's done. Like, it'd just be nice for them to see a really big, strong man step into the class and just tear up this lesson, because I'd been in the gym and I was in good shape. Anyway, I reckon we were 3 minutes into the class and I was so embarrassed because the girls were absolutely just teaching me a lesson. Some of the poses, Alice was like, Tasha, because I just faced the camera away. It's like, yeah, and I was having some trouble with the camera because we were doing it all online at the time. She was like, she doesn't muck around. I had to go back to like the complete beginner classes because I was an embarrassment.
Well, I kept blaming it on the fact that I had one foot at the start, but like I was honestly thinking to myself, I can't even plank on my knees. It has nothing to do with the fact that I have one foot. I was struggling so bad, but I think I've come a long way now, and I've got another excuse. If I'm ever struggling, I just say, oh, it's the belly.
Yeah, it's a good excuse. I was really surprised at how much different it was to the gym stuff, because I'd heard for ages. Like I do a little bit of yoga and I do a lot of different forms of exercise, but it was just, I don't know, maybe it was just the way she was explaining to activate your muscles or move your body. It was just it was a real shock to the system. So I've been just trying to do online classes of hers and not the ones where other people can see me, until I'm far more equipped, because I lost a lot of respect that day.
That was like when I made Mike do yoga once. He went in with me just to do, I think it was hot yoga though, to his defense. And he honestly, after a few minutes, had to just lie down on the floor. The lady was like, if you're struggling, you can just lie on the floor. And I was like, get up, Ryan, you can do this. Like,
that's so good. Is that a regular part of your routine when things are running normally and you're not pregnant? The hot
What hot
yoga?
yoga? No, not for some reason. In 2015, I was just, sick of being injured so much. And I tried to like think of all areas that I could be better at, just sleep and eating and all that. And I just thought, why don't I try yoga to limber up my body? Because I'm obviously not getting it right when it comes to just little injuries, whether it was muscle, tendon, even sometimes, chronic bone injury. And so I said, for just a trial, can we do hot yoga and see if it helps? And I don't know if it helped because I had a great 2016, but it was a period of time where I dragged him along to hot yoga once or twice. And he's like, I'm done. I'm not coming again. Like I nearly fainted and died. So I did go for like a month or so on my own, but then once I limbered up, I kind of realized that I was probably sweating way too much a few times a week with my intense training in the morning, and it was just getting a bit dangerous. So I stepped away from that for a while, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, that's nice. How are you going away from competition? Because as you said, like you've been running at an elite level now for years and years. So it's like, I know you've had a couple of injuries along the way, and you've probably had the experience of being away from competition for a little bit of time. But have you had a slot in your career where you've been away from competing for as long as you have now?
No, this is definitely the longest time since, I won't even include professional career, but yeah, since 2012, this has been the first season that like I am fully committed to not trying to get back for. Even 2019, I pretty much missed. My injury came in early February and I didn't get back until right before World Champs in Doha, which felt like a significant time off then. But this is the first time I know in my mind that it's not worth rushing back for. I don't know how useful I would be by the end of competition season this year, but it's hard in the sense that I know I still love it and I still miss it. Being away from it and going through the last 9 months hasn't made me feel like I'm ready to step away. It's done the opposite. Like I even said to Ryan, we have some of the MTC crew in Mount Laguna right now. And the last time we were in Mount Laguna would have been 2017. And I just said to him, I'm like, I miss that so much. I could be there right now. I could click my fingers and, slot straight back into that routine. Whereas Ryan's a little different. Like he definitely feels that, Mount Laguna was so fun when we did that training camp, but he's like, no, that's not necessarily what I miss. He's like, I miss racing and being in good shape and traveling, but I don't miss all the training camps and being away from home for so long. So he's like eager to get back and race, whereas I miss the whole lifestyle, which is funny to say. I'm about to have a baby. But it just makes you realize you do still love it. I haven't lost that fire. So as soon as I get the all clear to start getting my body back in the right shape, I will be doing that. It's going to look a lot different, and I'm sure I'll have a lot of help to get me there. But I'm just excited to see what it's like on the other side, being a mum and a runner.
I was thinking about you yesterday, actually. I was on my morning run. I was thinking about you and Jess Trengove, because I was really interested to see how Jess Stenson. I was really interested when she was pregnant to see how she would come back on the other side of the running, on the other side of the pregnancy, and it blew my mind just how well she made that transition. A lot of women make that transition really well, don't they? Like I think she's run. I don't know about all of her PBs, but I'm like 90% confident she ran her marathon PB post Billy, which was insane. So it's kind of an exciting prospect for you to go, all right, well, we get to build our little family. And it doesn't mean, as you've already hinted at, it definitely doesn't mean that elite competition's over. And especially it seems with the marathon distances that you sort of suggested you're going to start moving towards, there just seems to be a really good ability for girls to get back and just get their body in shape and start busting out some scary times.
Yeah, and there's so many examples. Jess is a great example, and I thought of her the other day recently too, because I think it was Launceston when it was pushed. It's normally in June, the Launceston Running Festival, and they moved it to December because of COVID. And I was there, and I remember Jess like still explaining that she was like expressing her milk and like trying to prepare. It was like maybe even the first night away from Billy, and I was just like, how are you doing this right now? And it was one of her first races back, and she just seemed to kind of hit the ground running. And I don't even really remember her having time away after giving birth. It just felt like 1 minute she was pregnant, 1 minute she was out racing again. And that's why like I'm so lucky. I've got so many good role models and examples like that. Eloise, I had a really long phone call with her just recently. And yeah, I just blasted her with every question I had about returning to running, you know, after having a baby. And she's the same, like all her greatest accomplishments in her career, I believe, have come post Indy, which was, you know, 2012, she fell pregnant after the Olympics. I mean, think of her 2016 Olympics. So, and what she's doing now on the roads, I just feel like, you know, I can name several women that are in a similar situation. And I don't doubt for a second that I can't follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, that's so exciting. It sounds like Ryan's distracting you to your left there, is he?
No, it's the
He's got a
dog.
flu. I thought he had a cold.
The dog can hear Ryan waking up and she's doing little barks. So I'm like,
little excited barks. Yeah, awesome,
yeah.
awesome. So the marathon distance is definitely, you know, what sort of got your attention. It might be too early to even hear about like what the plans and stuff for that look like. Are you are you penciling anything in as to how far ahead you want to make him? It'll be a marathon debut, wouldn't it? Because your career to date's been on the track, like 15 steeples and sort of your 10s.
Yeah, I've definitely never got even close to the marathon distance in training. That worries me a little bit, because even some of our girls before they did marathons, like Charlotte Purdue and Sinead Diver and even Eloise, I just feel like they had done the 2-hour long runs and got a little closer to that distance in their legs. I mean, I've done an hour 45 as a long run for a few years now, so it doesn't seem that much different, but I've never been a super high mileage runner, just purely due to injury. But I think my injuries have always come from the intensity of the track. And like I said, my major injury of my career has been an Achilles. And I actually got on top of it and was able to manage it when I took out spikes and speed work and hills and rough terrain. Like as soon as I could control all those little parts of my training and kind of cut them out and top it up with cross training or other ways of getting fitness, I stopped getting injured for a while there. And so I just feel like with the marathon, it gives you that sort of freedom. It's not necessarily about making sure every Monday night you're going out and doing your strides and staying really strong and fast for the track, and even doing really heavy lifting in the gym. It's more about getting that time on your legs on a flat surface or on the road. And I've watched the girls in our group in MTC do it so well. And I just think that training will actually benefit me more than what I've been trying to do my whole career. It's just whether I can handle, you know, there's a lot of work to do. And Nick Badeau, our coach, he's had so much success with women when it comes to marathon running. So I don't doubt that he can't write a program that will suit me, but it's just whether I can handle what he dishes out for me. And that's probably the most exciting thing for me. I don't know what it's going to be like and if I can handle it, but I get a lot of excitement out of the challenge and out of the unknown of something that I've never done before. And that's, I think, why I'm willing to try, because it would be crazy not to.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I remember, I don't know if I mentioned this to you a couple of years ago when we caught up, but I was training for what was going to be a second marathon. This was sort of before COVID and everything hit pause on the big competitions. But I remember it being out at Yarra Flats running with Luke Matthews and Sam McKenty, and there was a couple of other really good athletes in the group. And I was running a lot on Matty Clark. I was running with these guys for the morning and just thinking I was a hero, because we must have been, I think we were rocking around at about 420, 425. And I was like, mate, how good form am I in? And then I saw you and Sinead and I don't know who else was in your group just fly past us. I thought, this is just an embarrassment. Like I was getting so arrogant in the first 40 minutes of this run. So I don't know if you ran an hour 45 or what you're doing that day, but it sounds like you've got a pretty nice foundation, assuming you can hold all that training together. That was another thing that you mentioned that I thought was really interesting on our first chat, just how you'd sort of learnt to manage that load quite well, like with your, switching up an afternoon 30-minute or 40-minute easy run with like a pool running session. So it sounds like just the years in the sport's given you a pretty good foundation to really understand your body. And I mean, unless you chuck the spanner in the works of an unfortunate landing at the Olympics over a steeple, they're ones that are less easy to control. But you must be pretty confident with your ability to sort of navigate the training and stuff going into the marathon.
Yeah, and I think that my program will always look very unorthodox. It's never going to, if I could run the Ks that Sinead does or that Charlotte Purdue does, I would just be, I'm sure, fine. But I just can't assume that I can handle all the load that a marathon runner, is typically meant to do. And I think that's where it'll get tricky for me. I do need to know my boundaries, as I have my whole career. But again, in saying that, I don't worry necessarily, because it is hard sometimes to cross train when you haven't been injured in a long time, or you haven't ever had to cross train. Mentally and physically, it's really challenging, because you have to cross train way harder than if you get those Ks on land. But because I've done it so much, I mean, even now, I've been doing it since October. Like, I'm still cross training from back, whenever I decided to start cross training again after that Achilles rupture. And it does get mentally taxing. But when I'm pairing cross training with my running program, it's nowhere near as hard, because I know I'm doing it by choice. I don't have to do it. And my whole week will just look like, normal running, hopefully the running that, Nick would schedule in the mornings. And then my double sessions until I get healthy and strong enough will be, bike, elliptical, pool running, any way to get that sort of aerobic top up. And I enjoy it. Anything that's exercise, I feel like I get endorphins from. And that's another reason why when people ask me, do you think that you'll change your mind when you have a baby and not want to continue? And I'm just like, no, because it's really the one thing, hobby wise or recreational wise, that brings me so much joy and actually makes me feel like I get more out of my day when I've done my training in the morning. So it'll be hard and it'll be different, but it'll be a really interesting program to follow and see if it gets the same sort of results versus someone that can just run 200K a week.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I definitely don't think your mind will change. It's so funny because I love my little man. I love being around. He's a little champion, but man, I love going out for an hour run and just copping some peace and quiet and not having to think, oh, has Charlie shat his pants? Just go and enjoy the
I'll leave that with Ryan.
Hey, I was really interested to talk to you about your new little coaching venture as well. I shouldn't say little, because it looks unreal. It looks like it's quite big, actually. So Gregson running, it's relatively new from what I see. I saw maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, I reckon I saw you announce it, and I went and checked out.
November, or October, I think we announced it.
Yeah, awesome. How's it been on the coaching side of things? Give us a little bit of an overview on that, because it's really exciting to see, a duo like you and Ryan team up to offer some, undoubtedly, like just elite advice for athletes who are interested in improving their running performance. But I was curious to hear about the journey into that and sort of what that's looked like for you guys.
Yeah, so we came up with the idea of it. Well, not even the idea. Ryan's always brought it up as something that he'd like to do on the side, never as a full-time job, just because we both knew that running was going to take us into our late 30s and we didn't want to retire anytime soon. But with 2020 rolling around and panning out the way it did with COVID, we just saw it as like a really good opportunity to at least start putting a business plan in place and talking about what we'd want to gain from having an online coaching business. And yeah, so Ryan was definitely the driving force for that. But we just started to, every week or so sit down and like write some stuff down on a piece of paper and work out, how we wanted to look, what we wanted to get out of it. We didn't want to be like a professional group and get really super talented athletes that, might make world champs or the Olympics. We were definitely on a more recreational level where we wanted to just help the everyday runner be better. And it also came from the fact that we constantly are asked that through social media, just really basic questions about staying motivated, or, what's the best way to improve my 5K time? If my, week looks something like this, am I doing something wrong? And after a while, we realized there was just so many people that were coming to us for advice purely just because we'd done it for so long. So by the end of 2020, we came up with a bit of a business plan of when we wanted to launch it and how we wanted to launch it. And it was always going to be post-Olympics, just because we didn't want to have that distraction. And we have so many friends that have done something similar. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Pulse Running and Purdue Performance. Like, a lot of people in MTC have done something similar. So we also wanted to offer something a little different to what is already out there. And ours is definitely more kind of personal and one-on-one and individualized, because we allow open communication 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because we have clients from all over the world, and they have WhatsApp to contact us whenever they want. And we have a training platform, which I'm sure you've heard of and a lot of other programs use, is Final Surge. And then we have email, obviously, which is just a more formal sort of open communication. But we, thought that would launch that post-Olympics. Obviously, we didn't know that would be in quarantine or getting a surgery done, but it actually allowed me to have a lot of time to really get it up and running, like the website and all the behind the scene paperwork and bookwork that we had to sort out. And Ryan obviously has just been really good at creating the programs and getting clients on board. So together, I think we've made a great team, and we've honestly got such a strong group of athletes that have already done really cool things. Like we had an American recently do a really big PB in Boston Marathon. I think it was like a 16-minute PB, which we were really proud of, just because, you know, it's a prestigious race, let alone her qualifying. I remember her saying, you know, I want to run a PB. And what's really interesting and exciting about what we offer is it's to allow runners to change their program as they're on the go. So this athlete, for example, she travels all over America nearly daily. She is always moving. I think it's more so because of her partner, but her jobs are like all over the place. So she is constantly messaging us being like, hey guys, I have to travel today. Couldn't get my run in. How do you want my week to look? So we'll quickly alter it. And then she might be like, oh, I couldn't get a session in today. Do I skip it or do you want me to move it? So we'll just switch her days around and she gets a session in later in the week. And so what we're trying to tell people is the main thing that we offer is flexibility and being adaptive to your everyday life. If you have a family, if you have a really demanding job, if work just keeps you on the road, we are there every day to change it if you need it. And I think most of the clients that we have that are really succeeding are the ones that take full advantage of having that sort of communication with us and flexibility and a little bit of mentoring. We have people say, you know, I'm just struggling. I'm seeing your program and I want to do it, but how do you wake up in the morning and tackle it? And we just offer little bits of advice that have helped us in our career, and mainly just give them that sort of support that they wouldn't have if they were just reading a program off a screen.
Yeah, that flexibility is such a good point, isn't it? I remember even with my own running career, at times I'd get so obsessive with just what was on the paper. Like, no, this has to be done. It's like, Tice, you got a flu, mate. Like, go to bed. Like, no, but I got 90 minutes that needs to get done. That's unreal. Yeah, it looks really good. One of the things I liked, I had a good look through your website just to see what it was that you guys were doing, and one of the things I liked was the singlet. It reminded me of like martial arts, like the singlet grading, like that gradual progression through. Yeah. Have I got that right? Was that you guys?
The single, did you say singlet or single?
Sorry, the singlet.
Oh yeah, no, we offer singlets at one they've made a year.
At what is it? Sorry?
At 1 year, it's like an incentive to get through a year training.
I thought that was cool. So I pictured like this grading system, like you gradually work your way from white belt to black belt.
So Ryan wanted that. I'm pretty sure we discussed that. It's like, or you know, with Park Run, how you get different shirts for how many runs you've done. Like you can get to like 500 park runs. We were saying that we should have like a grading system where it's more like time you've been with us, you get like certain colored shirts. But merchandise is something that we will get on top of, but it's just been all about getting the business going, getting the clients in and making sure that people are happy with our services. And then we've added little things in like the training plans. If you're looking for a little less commitment rather than that one-on-one constant chat, we now offer, if there's a race that you're kind of targeting, for example, the most recent one is Gold Coast Marathon. We had people contact us and say, you know, I want a 12-week program or a 16-week program that leads me up into Gold Coast and, you know, allows me to perform, you know, as good as possible. We get all the information off them. What's their PB? What sort of running are they doing? What's their lifestyle like? And then we create this individualized program that they can follow. It doesn't have the constant contact with us. And that's the only thing that makes it hard. If they have a hiccup or an injury, we're not there to guide them through it. But it's still like a great program for them to follow and tackle whatever race they have in mind.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. So you're enjoying that whole process? Like you're on board together, huh? You haven't just been dragged into it.
No. Well, Ryan definitely was the passion behind the project, but the thing that's really crazy is you really get involved in their journey, and like a PB, when they text us and say, oh, I did a PB, or I ran really well here, you really do enjoy it. And it's kind of a nice feeling to appreciate someone else's PBs or success, even at a completely different level than we perform. I find that's been the most satisfying part of the job.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I find the same thing. I officially stopped my competitive running in 2014 and always followed it really closely, but hadn't had much to do sort of hands-on with the actual running scene. And then when I got back into relaxed running, it was so nice because I found the exact same thing with the athletes that I'm coaching. It's always enjoyable, not only to plan the programs, but also to just see the little breakthroughs. You feel like you're still pretty heavily involved.
Yeah, and like, especially when you know what their lead up's like, and if you don't think it's been ideal, but then they come through and do something, that surprises you, you're like, wow, you get really motivated, and you're like, imagine what you could do if the prep went, totally smoothly. So it has its perks.
That's so true. I had a bloke, Aaron, in New Zealand just on the weekend. He was supposed to be running a half marathon race, and about a month and a half ago, he got whacked by COVID really hard. Anyway, long story short, we're a little bit like, all right, we'll take it as it comes. Like a couple of weeks out, we'll make our decision, see how you're feeling. And he ended up going out. He messaged me the day after. He's like, hey, I didn't quite make the actual race, so I just did a half marathon time trial. He's like, I just missed my PB. And I was like, dude, that's so incredible. Like, it was mind blowing. I don't think he quite appreciated how well he had done, because you know what it's like when you're out there and you're just trying to pace yourself by yourself. Yeah. It's like trying to maintain a PB pace by yourself when you don't have a group around you who are sort of targeting the same things. It's so bloody hard, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the hardest way to do it, especially knowing that you haven't had an ideal prep. Like, that would constantly be in your head the whole way when it gets hard.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Have you guys flirted with the idea of doing a podcast? I reckon you two would have an unreal podcast.
Probably. I don't think our banter would be interesting enough to have an audience. I mean, maybe people would be interested in like the running part, but yeah, we've definitely never done. I don't think Ryan would. He just loves listening to his sporting podcast. Like, if I ever get him to do go get a shopping list, or do something around the home, or fold washing, he just puts his sporting podcast straight in and off he goes. Like, he's just in another world. So good. He wants to listen to us talk about running together.
That's so funny. See, that's clearly a running nerd comment coming out of me just there, because I thought that'd just be such a fantastic conversation to hear about the ins and outs of the Gregson running family.
Maybe it'll get more interesting like in the next 6 months. People probably want to know, but as of now, we do a lot of podcasts, like I'm talking to you now. So I think people have heard everything we have to say.
Yeah, it's so funny as well. I don't know if you're the same, but it's always harder to listen back to yourself. I probably think a podcast with you is so much more interesting than you think a podcast with you is.
Yeah, I said that to Ryan the other day. I was doing I think it was on SEN radio, because I was talking to Tim O'Shaughnessy about it. But they were kind of asking me about running from day dot, whenever it started, right through to present time. And I said to Ryan and Tim that when I was telling my stories, I felt bored of myself. I was like, I'm boring myself. I hope I'm not boring any of the listeners out there, but my stories sound so boring to me.
Because you've just said them so many times and you remember.
And maybe you feel scripted at some point because you're telling a story, or even like going over Tokyo. I've done that a lot. And even though that one is very recent and the memory is scarring, and I can remember it so vividly, telling that story telling that story again, I'm like, wait, have I already said that on this podcast, or is this just like me repeating myself from another time? But yeah, you kind of just feel like you're explaining your story just in different ways, and you do get bored of yourself.
Oh man, that's so funny. What do you guys what do you got planned for the rest of the day? For those of you listening, it's a Saturday morning. Jen and I decided to get our act together. Actually, speaking of not remembering if we've mentioned this already, I don't know if I've said that. 8 a.m. Saturday morning was the start time to this. What do you guys got on for the rest of the day?
Well, we're going out with my brother and his partner tonight. So we were going to do a yard day today. This is the riveting life of the Gregsons, but it's pouring rain in Brisbane. It's cold. So we'll probably both do a bit of cross training. I've got 90 minutes on the elliptical, and then go to a cafe to plan what we're doing for the rest of the day. As you all know, a baby is imminent, and I could pop at any moment now. So we have a lot of stuff to get ready in the house. Ryan put a bed together last night, and I put a car capsule in the car.
That is impressive. I don't know how you've done a car capsule by yourself.
No, it needs to be checked. The child is not safe after I've done it, but at least it's in there for when we go to the hospital. But yeah, a lot of little things to do around the house, nothing wild, because yeah, we're preparing for the inevitable.
Yeah, when you messaged me yesterday and said you could pop at any minute, I thought, man, this would be so good for my podcast numbers if it could just happen. If it could just happen, the 40 minutes on here. Imagine that as a clip.
You're dragging it out just in case I start infection.
Oh man, Jen, it's so good to catch up with you again. I won't keep chatting because you got the rest of your Saturday to enjoy. But it's so nice. I can't believe it's been over 2 years since that first one in the back of Tim's backyard there. So it was nice to catch up again, have a chat, and yeah, really excited for you guys and what you got coming the next couple of months.
No, thanks for having me. I enjoyed this chat because I feel like you didn't make me go over some stories of my boring life. I felt like it was all new information.
That's such a relief to me as well, because I don't want anyone to be here going, this is so boring. What a shit podcast.
You heard Jen's story. Like, why is she talking about this again? No,
all right, Jen. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.